I will call to order the meeting of the Lincoln County Board of Commissioners on this 9th day of February 2026. I just want to say real quick before we get started, thank everyone for showing up today. We rescheduled the meeting that was supposed to be the other Monday due to the snow and just out of safety for everybody else traveling. So if you would, please join me for standing for a moment of silence followed by the Pledge of Allegiance. All right, I'll entertain a motion to adopt the agenda as presented.
So moved.
All right, motion by Commissioner Carpenter. Any further discussion?
Yes, sir.
All right, hearing none. All in favor indicate by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? All right, the agenda is adopted. And we'll move on to the consent agenda. I'll entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda.
So moved.
All right, motion by Commissioner Cecina. Any further discussion? All right, hearing none. All in favor indicate by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? All right, the consent agenda is approved. And we'll move on to item number 3, approval and acceptance of continuing education scholarship grant from the State Library in the amount of $5,000. Philip?
Good morning.
Good morning.
I am here to ask for permission to accept a $5,000 scholarship that we received from the State Library of North Carolina to attend the Public Library Conference, or Public Library Association Conference in Minneapolis, Minnesota in April of 2026.
Okay, anyone have any questions for Philip?
No, sir.
All right, I will entertain a motion to accept a continuing education scholarship grant from the State Library in the amount of $5,000.
So moved.
All right, motion by Commissioner Cecina. Any further discussion? All right, hearing none. All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right.
Thank you.
Good.
Philip,
Thank-
thank you for all you do over at the library.
Oh, you're
Many times, I'm sure it goes unnoticed, but we really appreciate all those things, all the things that you and the rest of the library staff does.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
All right, moving on to number 4, statement of delinquent 2025 taxes, which are a lien on real estate property. Ms. Susan Sane.
Good morning.
Good morning.
So per General Statute 105-369, it requires the tax collector to provide the delinquents each year. This year, we're a little over $4 million. I sent you all an email earlier with all those names. And also, we have collected around 96.71% as of now. Also, it requires us to advertise in 1 or more newspapers with general circulation. And in the past, we've done all 3. I would like to know which ones you would like for me to advertise in this year. And it just requires approval for us to advertise. We will notify taxpayers 30 days prior to advertising in the paper.
So you need an answer from us on where you want us to advertise at, or?
So in the past, we advertised in only 1 for years. But the last several years, we advertised in all 3. So we went ahead and got some quotes. And one of the quotes was for Lincoln Times, it was $4,600. Lake Norman was $7,700. And of course, the Lincoln Herald, we have a contract with them that doesn't cost any extra money.
Okay.
But that's totally up to you. We can advertise in all, or it just requires 1 or more with general circulation.
I would go with the one we have a contract with, if that's agreeable by the other board members. Do you need a formal vote on that, or just?
So, We don't have the authorized legislation that allows us to only publish electronically, and the Lincoln Herald is now only
Yeah.
electronic. So
Okay.
I would suggest either Lincoln Herald and the Lincoln Times, or Lincoln Herald and Lake Norman. But does Lake Norman publish throughout Lincoln County, or
It's just,
is it only in Denver area?
Only
it's
in
really just in the
Denver.
Denver area.
So I would suggest if you're going to not do it in one, it would be the Lake Norman, because it's solely in the east, but Lincoln Times
It's all over.
does it the entire county.
It says general circulation, so that one is.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
So everybody in agreement to just do the two Lincoln? and
Sure.
don't- Okay.
The Herald and the Times.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Yep. You good with that,
Okay.
bud? All right, that'd be good.
Okay.
And anybody have any other questions for Susan before we have a motion?
Since my name's not on it, I'm gonna be okay.
All right, I'll entertain a motion to adopt a resolution ordering Lincoln County Tax Administrator to advise tax liens for 2025.
So moved.
All right, motion by Commissioner Carpenter. Any further discussion? All right, hearing none. All in favor indicate by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? All right, the ayes have it.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, we'll move on to number 5, Transportation Funding Policy. Andrew.
Good morning, members of the board. Back before you again is this transportation funding policy, and if the IT staff can go ahead and skip over and get to slide 15. We'll go through the changes there. So just a quick review of things we've changed from the initial version that was brought to y'all in the fall. We modified it to the maximum scoring or maximum county participation being 40% of the overall cost for this transportation funding policy. It also clarifies what funds are counted in that equation, defines employment, and it provides source references for all scoring criteria. Next slide, please. The changes that were requested at our last meeting in December where this was discussed was we were going to remove community support just based on the overall subjective nature of that metric. Also merged population centers and public places into one criteria. We weighted economic development as part of that ×2. And two things I do want you to consider as we contemplate approval of this is if we do approve it, two things that kind of came up in my review of this and getting it to where it is that we would need to modify the minimum score that would even come before y'all based on this change in metrics. And also, and I can't figure out if DOT changed something in the midst of this, but the scoring metrics that on DOT's crash dashboard seem to not align with where I originally set them. And again, I don't know if they changed something or what, but I would like permission to, again, you would still have your 1 through 5, but it would just align with their 5 categories. Something got out of order there. But if we go to the next slide, we can kind of go through how these scoring criteria look with the two original projects we looked at and the 2 projects that y'all requested additional information on. And if y'all could zoom out just a little bit so we can get the full table. One more click, please. Perfect. So you see here, as part of this table, under the third column down, third row down or second row past the header, economic development, you see that ×2 ranking. The only one that had any economic development impact on this was the Lincoln Commerce Project. Population centers and public places merger. The way I handled that was simply still independently scoring them and dividing their total by 2 to get those outputs, and you kind of see the formula right there. Community support is stricken, and all the other ones are stay the same for readiness, coordination, and matching funds. You see there at the bottom for each column, you see where they all play out. Based on the weighting for economic development, I certainly expected Lincoln Commerce to come out ahead with those. And based on kind of the benefit that overall Carrington improvements give, that wasn't a surprise that one kind of came in second. with the two other ones, Waterway Drive and Ingleside, coming in third for that. I can say, as I've gone through this process, this is certainly the most straightforward by removing that subjective nature of community support. And I also feel that these scores come out for each of these projects in a logical ranking is where I see these coming out. It's certainly an ideal outcome from this kind of evolving of this process. Just so at this point, I mean, just any additional questions we can answer about the kind of the scoring part of the policy. I think everything else around the policy seemed fairly firm, but we were just working to refine these scoring metrics and just looking for any additional input from the board.
Andrew, can you just kind of step back and kind of give a high-level overview of the purpose of
Yes,
this?
so if that we go back to probably slide, let's
We on the
see.
board understand it. We just want everybody else to
Right, I
understand.
understand. So let's go to slide 10, please. So Lincoln County has collected excess excise tax revenue since 2018, building that fund incrementally over the years. The fund has, at the end of FY25, had a balance of around $3 million. This fund has spent $1.2 million over that time. The first part was the funding of the mobility study, and then the participation in the Waterway Drive signalization on NC 16. And the other three projects that the counties use these funds for are for 3 access improvements at 3 elementary schools in the county, and those projects have gone rather well. At this point, the fund keeps growing. I mean, I think we've had some positive impact with what we've been able to do, but I think there is the idea of we can do more with these funds by partnering with whether it be DOT, whether it continue to be the school system, or whether it be private development. The DOT partnerships and the school partnerships are kind of at y'all's discretion as y'all want to, but as we partner or look to partner with private development to make more impact to our transportation system, we certainly thought it was the best idea to develop some metrics around those to make sure that we're having the most impact we can with those dollars. So if we go to the next slide. Part of this, we did develop a funding structure for that. Next slide, please. We just kind of already went through that. Keep going, please. We can go through those projects, participate in all kinds of projects, additional sidewalk projects. We can participate in roadway improvements, signalization projects, and we can do that all the way from project design and scoping all the way through construction. We could also use these as matching grant funds if there was a possibility of that. Next slide, please. And part of this and part of the methodology, part of this policy was to develop a methodology around it. We started out with these 10 metrics here. As through development of this process, we have eliminated the community support metric due to its subjective nature, and then merged population centers and public places, just because they really spoke very much to the same thing, and we dealt with that. Yes, sir.
Maybe not so much ask a question, but clarify something for me if possible. So this has not got anything to do with actual zoning itself. This is about the transportation. So when we say we've taken away the public community involvement, it's not, we're not saying they have no involvement in the zoning processes. This is strictly for this one thing. Am I
Right,
correct?
and this is not to say that the public can't have something to say about this. This was more of a generalized basis of understanding that we've heard from the public in the past that they want a project in this area. They want this road widened. They'd like to
Right.
see a traffic signal here.
But it has nothing to do, because I can just see someone coming and saying, well, you're not going to listen to us anymore for the zoning issues, and that has nothing to do with
It
this.
it
Am I correct?
absolutely does not. And I see,
You see my point?
I do see your point. And there's going to be some times where I feel like there would be an opportunity for a partnership, and there might not be a public hearing involved with it from a zoning standpoint. But I think the most of these that y'all would see in the future, these would be very much tied together with a public hearing process. This would be an understanding, there would be an agreement that would be kind of packaged together with that. They would be hand in hand, and that's how they would work. So there is no removal of public input into this process. This community support metric was just staff.
Yeah.
It's just the point system.
Let me
Yes.
chime in to kind of just add some summary to it. So, yeah, this has nothing to do with the zoning in that element. This is really specifically about those funds that are set aside. They're restricted, how they're collected, and it allows the county to utilize these funds to assist with improvements or enhancements in these various areas. And really what this whole purpose of this is to move away from staff and the board and the developers trying to negotiate through requesting these funds and then how to assign them. And it's leaving them to do it a little bit on a subjective level. This creates a measurement, a quantitative measurement where they rank, and this is what you have to approve, that you agree with the way Andrew has developed the scoring. And if you see, go back to some of the slide with the table on it, there's a minimum requirement of 25 to be considered. So this allows them to go through projects, weight the important impacts. Community input, as Andrew said, is still there in the process. So the process of how those things are considered has not changed. This is how the process of managing those funds and the distribution of those funds and the prioritization of those funds is being utilized. And it gives them a clearer process in doing it, so they're not trying to go, well, I think this looks good, this sounds good. I'm glad somebody's talking this better for our benefit. They can score it, look at the score, and then use that to help drive where the commissioners utilize those funds.
And for clarity, I'd asked for those 2 additional considerations if y'all are going to consider approving this, and kind of almost like a conditional approval, is that the previous minimum score was based on an overall score of 50. The maximum score now is 45 based on our changes, so I would request that minimum score go to 22.5, just as a 50% of that score, which is, you see on the table here, it would still leave these 2 projects, this Ingleside and Waterway Drive project that we use to kind of illustrate this, it would leave them ineligible to even come before the board for funding. We would knock it out at the administrative level. I'd say there's not been enough impact there. And again, the other conditional request would be to just let us change the metric to align with DOT's categories for crash metrics in that area.
And one other clarification, just so everybody's understanding where these funds are coming from.
So the fund that has been built was based on the direction of the Board of Commissioners around 2017, 2018, to set a base level of excise tax collection, which those excise taxes are collected when there's real property transfers within the county. And those excise funds, tax funds, I think help fund the Register of Deeds and some other things here in the county. But that baseline was set, and it was quite an odd number, but I have it here. The baseline was $859,192 of excise tax collection in the county. Any funds collected over that amount roll into this transportation fund that the county has held, and that we have done those projects that were listed a little bit earlier. So that's how those funds come in. They come from property transfers. That's the excise taxes. It's a tax on that transfer on each of those transactions. So I mean, this fund is built through the real estate industry and the work to just buy and sell property. So some of that obviously is straight just transfers. Some of that's on new houses being built. So it's kind of looking at, and the reason this fund was targeted was because it was really seen as a growth-driven and development-driven engine or funding source.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else have any questions for Andrew?
Yeah. So Andrew, you said you wanted to drop the scoring down because, well, I know it went from 50 to 45. That, and then he said something a while ago that he wanted to change these on this one because down to 22.
So there is a minimum score that the application for this funding would have to obtain.
So you just want to change the minimum score.
The minimum score that it would even be brought to y'all for consideration.
Okay.
Well, we don't want to bring you every little time somebody asks, but it was just seen as that 50% mark of the total score was the minimum. Y'all can leave it at 25. Doesn't matter to me. But that was based on the original thought process was 50% of the maximum score, which the maximum score has been adjusted from 50 down to 45.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Thank you, Andrew. All right, so I'll entertain a motion to approve the transportation funding policy.
So moved.
All right, motion by Commissioner Mullen. Any further discussion? All right, hearing none. All in favor indicate by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? All right, the ayes have it. It is approved.
The next agenda item is the kind of companion to this transportation funding policy, and it's the reimbursement agreement ordinance. In order to enter into these contracts outside of the public utility fund, we need to adopt an ordinance for that. And what this is very simple. It sets up the definitions within it, establishes our authority to enter into these agreements. Again, it's eligibility requirements, how the application process works, and how these will be reimbursed. We won't go out and cut a check to the developer to start the project, to establish those seed funds. We will simply be reimbursing for work done upon project completion. Keep in mind that when we enter into these agreements, they have to follow our public bidding processes. They have to advertise, they have to select the lowest responsible bidder for these. And this reimbursement agreement that will be entered into each and every time, we'll set that out for them. And if they misstep, there is no reimbursement due. We've entered into these agreements many times in public utilities. 2 agreements ago that we entered into, the developer didn't follow all of their criteria. They didn't advertise it. They got good bids, but they didn't advertise it, and so they had to pay the entire cost of the project on that one. Most of the time, people follow the rules, but there is some risk there for them if they don't follow what we lay out in the agreement. Again, this is a very perfunctory part of this process. But also very, very important to make sure this is administered appropriately.
Okay. Anyone have any questions for Andrew about the reimbursement agreement? All right, I'll entertain a motion to approve the reimbursement agreement ordinance.
So moved.
All right, motion by Commissioner Carpenter. Any further discussion?
Mr. Chair?
Yes.
For the council, since this is an ordinance and Commissioner Patton is not here, can this be adopted on the first read?
There's no criminal aspect of it.
Okay, just making sure.
Okay, thank you. All right, so we have a motion by Commissioner Carpenter. Any further discussion? All right, hearing none. All in favor indicate by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? All right, the ayes have it.
All right, thank you all.
It is approved. Thank you, Andrew. All right, next on the agenda is Little Creek Access Improvement Project with Duke Energy. John and Ryan.
John, I would just wait just a couple of minutes because Bud just stepped around.
No problem. You want me to sing while we wait? No?
You can see.
No? Doesn't want me to do that.
Can we get karaoke on the screen?
Yeah, it's probably not what you want me
He'll
to
be
do.
right back. He had to step out for a call real quick. I
Back out of the chair, run the meeting, but I just wanted to advise since he stepped out.
No problem at all. You ready?
We'll go ahead with.
Gotcha, not a problem. Well, good morning, Board. We wanted to visit with you today to give you a quick update. Ryan is here from Duke Energy to answer any questions you have about their current plans out at the Little Creek access off of Burton Lane. This is a project for Duke Energy, and Ryan can speak a little more to this, that is part of the same FERC approvals and processes that we work through with Beatty's Ford. The main difference with this property, currently it is operated and maintained by North Carolina Wildlife and Duke Energy as a recreational site. Lincoln County Parks and Recreation, no one from the county side, we don't operate this site currently. And with these improvements, the county isn't obligated to take over any kind of leadership operational role at the site unless we choose to. So the opportunity from Duke Energy for Lincoln County to become a leasee of this property to operate it in the future is there, but currently it is planned to be operated and maintained by North Carolina Wildlife and Duke Energy. So I'm going to let Ryan introduce himself, because I think Ryan has spoke to this group in the past as we worked through the Beatty's Ford project, but I think he may have not met some of you, but I'll let him introduce himself, and we'll look at the plans that they have put together.
Appreciate it, John. Good morning, Board. My name is Ryan Stedker. I've been with Duke Energy for about 8 years now, project manager in charge of building and upgrading our access areas throughout our entire lake system. But currently, Little Creek here in Lincoln County, we are in the process of starting our design for this project. As John mentioned, we currently manage that in partnership with North Carolina Wildlife Resources Commission. Our current slate for the upgrades to the access area are, we're going to add a restroom building, a fishing pier, some additional paved parking, and a picnic shelter, along with a small path and a couple of dispersed picnic areas. And in discussion with John over with our partnership at Beatty's Ford, just approached John and let him know, hey, if the county has any interest in also leasing this access area from us and adding an additional county park to their repertoire, we are definitely open to that discussion, and I welcome any questions you may have for that.
Okay, so it would seem to me, and I'm not speaking for the folks over in Burton Lane or Webbs Road or Sailview, but it would seem to me that it would be in the best interest of the folks in that general area if we had a lease on it like we do at Beatty's Ford and utilize the same rules and regulations that we do at Beatty's Ford and have the sheriff monitor those for the commercial uses, because neither Duke nor we want there to be commercial uses there on that property. And if we have the lease to that, it seems like we are in better shape to enforce those rules and regulations. And as we move forward with a lease, John, we could get those signs up and we can get the cameras up and all that, as opposed to an afterthought. We can do that right up front instead of kind of the Beatty's Ford model that was okay, but it could have been done better. And so I think for the folks that live in that area, they've already got kind of a mess in the summertime going down Burton Lane and Webbs Road, going over to there. And a lot of that is commercial traffic. And if we can limit that or eliminate that, I think we're going to be in a whole lot better shape over there. And so my thought is that we should go ahead and lease it, do the same thing we did, like $1 a year for whatever it is. And then we manage that facility, and it's going to take a body or two, I assume, to be over there to keep an eye on that. But it seems to me that Beatty's Ford went so much better this year when we managed that facility and had certain hours they could use and certain hours they couldn't use, along with the swim beach, and that eliminated a lot of what our distraught was over that swim beach and the fishing pier and all that. So that would be my recommendation, is to go in that direction.
Yeah, we welcome that. Beatty's Ford's been a great partnership between Duke and the county, and we would, very much welcome a partnership as well at Little Creek. And that's where the conversation with John kind of started, is, hey, we're currently in the design phase, and to your point, Commissioner, if we want to, if there's additional things that, that you guys would like to see to help you guys on that lease side of things from the operations standpoint, now's the time to get those in the plans. And we can talk through what all that looks like and figure that out together as we move forward so that, we have a good design going forward before we start construction. We're hoping to start construction, design and permitting always can take a little longer than we always hope for, but we're hopeful to be able to start construction, hopefully sometime late fall this year. So now is the time to get those conversations going and get things rocking and rolling that way.
And it seems that we could probably get a community meeting or so together, one or two together, and say, hey, what's everybody kind of want? I mean, it's not productive. We don't want anything. We learned that.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, we're not going to win that fight. But it would be nice if we had a community meeting or two, and the fact that if we lease it, then we can say we can do the same thing we do at Beatty's Ford that's been successful. Anybody else got any thoughts about that?
I guess the only question is, Beatty's Ford, though, the boat put-ins outside of the park itself, is that correct?
Yeah, Beatty's Ford set up a slightly different area where the boat landing is kind of almost separate from the park access area, whereas Little Creek, because of the size of the parcel and things like that, it would all basically be one large area, the parking lot. It's not like we can really separate that because of just the compactness of the space. And with that, North Carolina Wildlife would still help maintain the parking lot area just like they do at Beatty's Ford. So it would be a three-way partnership between us, them, and you guys. But again, we can work through all those details and work that out from the lease negotiations and all that good stuff. But be happy to partner with you.
So Ryan, I have just a couple of quick questions. So I know you said when construction would begin, but what's kind of the completion ETA right now based on everything going according to plan?
Realistically, it would probably be fall sometime of next year would be when we would complete.
So a 12-month plan.
Yeah.
And so, and I'll kind of add to what Commissioner Cecina said earlier about the involvement. And I know John stays active, and this has been ongoing for a while. I think part of the reason why we asked him today, too, was one of the original pieces of information shared was that you were going to have tent campsites. But my understanding is that the design has changed. You'll have a shelter is the plan. There are no campsites scheduled to be there.
No, so there's an old concept from when the license was originally negotiated back in the mid-2000s, there was, at some point, someone in Lincoln County thought, hey, maybe we would want to run a small primitive campground in that area. So the concept that you may have seen, that's an older concept, has that marked out as just a potential future option. That's not a requirement from a Duke requirement. That's not the only thing we're required to do is the restrooms, the fishing pier, the paved parking, and the picnic shelter. Anything above that would be at the request of the county as something else that you guys would want to operate. So if you guys, I would agree that I don't think anybody thinks that a primitive campground over there would make sense. So no, that would not be anything that would ever be done. And again, that was just something, in the mid-2000s, maybe somebody thought that would be something good out there, but no, that's not something that has to happen. And I would, any amenities above and beyond just those four things that I listed would be at the request of the county, so that would not be something that would go out there.
So I would just request a follow-up. Thank you for that. That's great for the explanation. Is this, as that evolves and the plans continue to meet, sharing any updates back through John for me and the board, just to follow where things are going, because I know we'll have to start deciding at what point we want to get engaged to do the lease and any resources that we need to start dedicating to that. Thank you.
So my suggestion is if we do lease it, then we want to put a little shelter out there for the park people.
And
No, not the picnic shelter, but a shelter for the park folks to operate out of, because a bathroom, well, not necessarily a bathroom, but a shelter out there when it's poured down rain.
And that's the timeliness of today's discussion and getting the process started here is Ryan and the Duke staff are at that point of their process with planning. If there's something that we need to include in this plan, we've talked about I think it's on the map, a possible kayak and canoe launch that Duke would work with us on. That's an additional amenity that could go at this site that functions well. And then, like you said, if we if we kind of convert this restroom space to include some office area for touchdown for Parks and Rec staff, we know what difference that's made at Beatty's Ford. Same thing for this location as well. So now's the time for us to have those discussions with Duke along with planning out a lease. Any other questions for us?
Any other questions from the board?
No, it just seems we've learned a lot at Beatty's Ford Road, and we ought to take what we've learned at Beatty's Ford and incorporate it here in Little Creek.
Thank y'all.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
All right, next we have finance report. Deanna?
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
I think that with this finance report, we're pretty well caught up. This is for December, so half the fiscal year. The investment earnings so far that have been allocated are just under $600,000 to the general fund. As of the date of this, back in January, we had almost $2 million in the interest revenue account, the pooled fund to distribute. Taxes for the fiscal year were budgeted at $92 million. We've collected, through December, we collected 88.6. Sales taxes were budgeted at $38 million. We've collected a little over $8 million through November. We had not booked December as of this point. Revenues in the general fund were at 65%, expenditures 48%, utility fund revenues are at a little over half, and expenses are at 47%. Solid waste revenues are at 68%, mainly because of the availability fee collected through the tax bill, and expenses are at 34%. The audit is done. It has not been submitted to the LGC yet. It should be submitted this week. We're going back and forth with the auditors on, I think today there was a date that they needed to change. But it should be submitted to the LGC, I believe, by Thursday. So we will look at presenting it to you, I believe, on the 2nd, because we have to present it to you within 30 days. Are there any questions or comments or concerns or anything like that?
Anyone have anything for Deanna?
No, sir.
Nope.
All right,
Thank you.
Thank you, Deanna. All right, we'll move to public comments. Next on the agenda, this is where the public is given 3 minutes to speak to the board, and 5 minutes if you are a group, and the group has to be present. We have 2 people signed up to speak. So first on the list is James Ward. As you come to the podium, if you would state your name and address.
So my name is James Ward. My address is 7204 Deepwood Lane, Vale, North Carolina. I'm not sure that this is actually the correct time to bring this up. I have spoken to Mr. Lineberger and Mr. Bryant about this on several occasions. On or about November the 3rd, I was employed with the Lincoln County Solid Waste as a convenience site maintenance worker. It did not take but just a couple of days to figure out just how blatant the waste of funds as far as wages were at that department because of employees that were absolutely not doing any work whatsoever. There were at least 2, if not 3, employees daily that were sitting in county vehicles with the motor running, smoking cigarettes and smoking cigars and watching other people do the work. When I confronted Billy Bracebridge, who was the convenience site supervisor about this, his exact words were to me, "You are now working for the government, things are different." When I went to James Horn, his supervisor, who is the landfill operations manager, his reply to me was, "I have told Billy he better do something about this or it's going to come back to bite him in the ass." Exact words. When I spoke to Jenna Harmon about this, who is the solid waste manager, she told me that the names that I had brought up during those conversations were repeatedly brought up to her. Something needed to be done about it or it was going to take time to do it. At that time, we were all called together with a meeting with Mr. Bryant. These things were discussed, and at that time, I was told that because I had brought this situation up, that I had created a hostile working environment for myself, and it would probably be best for me not to go back to work at the landfill. And at that time, they told me that they would try to create a position for me as a part-time employee at 10 Mine Convenience Site on a permanent part-time position, that there should be an availability the 1st of early 2026. That did not pan out. I was then offered a position to be a floater position. And at that time, after the 36 hours that I received for training, Mr. Bracebridge also told me after that he had no way of guaranteeing me any work whatsoever after that. So here I am without a job. I would like a recommendation from the commissioner. How do I follow up to this? Do I seek legal representation, or would the commission like to? All I want is a job with equal pay, equal opportunity, equal part-time hours. Let me know. I've already, in a generic way, I have spoken to the North Carolina Labor and the EEOC. They told me it was best for me to contact y'all and give y'all the first dibs at getting this corrected.
Okay, thank you.
Do I need to
Andrew,
leave the podium?
you can, or you can stand there. Andrew and David, I know we've talked about this, and this has been going on for about 6 weeks or so. Could y'all please follow up with Mr. Ward and just figure out what we can do to see what the options are? So, yeah, we'll follow up with you and see what we can do.
Okay, I would really like this to be taken to heart, because I've heard follow-up with me since the 6 weeks ago when this is taken. I keep getting pushed aside. It's out of sight or out of mind is the best way to handle this. I was very excited about the opportunity to go to work at 10 Mine. Matter of fact,
We'll follow up with you.
okay.
Okay.
Do I need to stay for the rest of the meeting, or can I leave?
You're free to go or free to stay, whatever you like to do. But thank
Thanks
you.
for your time.
Yep, thank you.
And you know how to get back in touch with me.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. All right, next we have is Gunny Hull. You're gonna follow up with him, David? Andrew, can you be part of that as well? And just let us know what the outcome is. Thank y'all.
County Commissioners, Gunny Hole, 319 North Poplar Street in Lincoln. So I'm going to bring to you some public information that was addressed a while back, but something new come about. In Matthew chapter 7 and verse 15, it says, "Beware of false prophets, which come to you in sheep's clothing, but inwardly are ravening wolves." In John chapter 10 and verse 12 says, "But he that is a hireling and not the shepherd, whose own the sheep are not, seeth the wolf coming, and leaving the sheep, and fleeing the wolf catches them and scattered the sheep." People are not always who they seem. We stood and took an oath to the flag representing our country, and it is an oath, even though we call it a pledge. We say under Yah, which is very serious, and we say liberty and justice for all. In 2014, after much service and everything else, I found no liberty or justice as I suffered violence from assault, from robbery, and destruction of my property. I filed a report with the city police, no assistance. The sheriff's office knew about it. I filed a report with SBI, and nothing became of that. Neither from DA Mike Miller, the magistrate D.D. Martin blocked my filing complaints there, brought it to the county commissioner, city council, and nothing was done. And this was then Sheriff David Carpenter that did these crimes. Another criminal I want to bring to your attention is a man who thinks himself is above the law. He thinks he's not accountable to the people of Lincoln County, and he has committed blasphemy in this very room against Yahweh, lying against the Holy Ghost. This man is Danny Hester. He's aiding and abetting in sodomy. It's a crime to violate the Constitution and natural and common law. And yet, no one has done anything to either one of these, and now they're both running, as you know, as county commissioners. So it's when we say liberty and justice for all, and then we allow anything, and just to mimic or say something on that, it just came up, but we've got something on our policy that we don't allow smoking on the grounds, and it should be in the vehicle. So there should be action taken for that gentleman there as well. But, you know, when I believe it was Martin Luther said, if there's injustice for anybody, then it's really injustice for all. And we're allowing our country to literally be destroyed by criminal activity of blocking ice and everything else. And so it's destroying our nation. Thank you.
All right, thank you. All right, we have no one else signed up to speak, so I will close the public comments. Any other business to come before this board at this time? All right, hearing none, then I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
All right, motion by Commissioner Carpenter. Any further discussion? All right, hearing none. All in favor,